times we expect something out of a partner that we are not.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
where the 5 and the 10 come from,
Okay.
right? You're wanting somebody who makes over 6 figures and owns their own home and owns their own business and takes his mama to church every Sunday and pearly perfect white teeth and works out and cooks and all of these things. When you are a hot mess, you don't know who you are. You don't know what you want to do for your career. Your credit is shot. You ain't had a checkup or a physical in 3 years. You're all over the place. Your mental health is not well.
Good.
You don't take care of yourself, but you want somebody who has all these things together.
Mhm.
That's a little unrealistic because we tend to attract to us what we are.
Are you tired of dating and things keep falling apart? What if I told you the biggest mistakes that people make in dating are avoidable?
In this episode, we are breaking down the 5 common dating mistakes we've seen over the years and how avoiding them can lead to a healthier marriage in the future. If you're stuck in a cycle of mistakes, stick around. This episode is for you.
Hey, what's up, great people? My name is Ken.
And I'm Dana. Welcome, you guys. We are so excited for everybody that is now a part of the BennettLife TV community. We see you in the chat. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all of your comments. You guys really do keep us encouraged to let us know that we are on the right track with this. Some of you guys are hilarious. And thank you so much for encouraging one another in the comments. I just love how you guys are saying we're praying for you, or you're commenting and giving helpful tips to one another. So thank you. We really do have a good community here.
It's a solid community, and I love what God is doing to make connections literally from around the world. Someone from Nigeria. We've had them. Don't let me start calling countries, but I just am Australia. Someone commented from Australia on last week talking about how much they valued the episode. So I am just excited about what God is building in this community. We spent a lot of time really talking to couples. Many of the episodes have been really geared in their direction. But today, we really do our best to try to frame these conversations around your greatest needs. And so as we've had an opportunity to peruse many of the comments, we've discovered that there is a community out there that really want to get it right in the dating phase. And so this episode is for those of you, let's say you're fresh out of, a hard relationship, could be a marriage that you're now divorced. Listen, we've been there. There is redemption. There is hope. So this episode is for you. Or if you say, listen, I just want to know how I can date in a more healthier way. What should I be looking after? This is what today's episode is all about, because we have gotten a chance to spend a lot of time with individuals. We happen to be pastors that lead a growing church here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I have to say, and I'm sure you would agree, we kind of take a back seat and we watch people date and we're just like, Lord, help them today. Jesus. Oh, that's a train wreck on its way to happen. What would you say?
We have learned over the years not to insert ourselves into people's personal lives. Now, of course, we offer advice should we be asked, but we have learned for sure to keep our noses out of people's bedrooms, personal lives, all of those sorts of things. Our job is to sow the seed of the word, pray for people, and hold people accountable to the degree that they give us permission to. But it is not our job to police
today, though,
people's personal lives.
We get in your business. We get in your business. So let's get into it. First and foremost, we're talking about the dating phase. One of the things I want to make sure that we get to is that we really unpack this idea that relationships are extremely consequential. They are the catalyst for both pleasure and pain. You and I have taught together and we discussed how your greatest pleasure and your greatest pain will come from the same place, which is people. So let's get into what does that look like in the context of dating and relationship.
Absolutely. So before we get into some of those mistakes that people make when they're dating, it's important to understand that there are 3 key influences that are going to affect your dating choices. That is self, that is people, and that is purpose. I think sometimes people are just kind of haphazardly making their way through the dating scene, not understanding all of the factors that influence who we date, how we date, what we're looking for.
That's good.
I think we're just kind of aiming in the dark without sort of a guide or a plan. So I'm hoping that this will help shed some light and people have some aha moments while we are chatting today.
How does just unpacking those three areas a little bit, and we'll get into the five mistakes, but these three areas that you're kind of leading with self, people, and purpose. How important do you feel, especially if you're making a decision to date intentionally, those self talks? Because I believe that the people we tolerate is a reflection of what we believe about ourselves, and it shows up in our dating season. It really does. If you don't like your dating season, if you don't like the people you're attracting, many times there is some self talks and some things that you're telling yourself that you are or you are not, so you tolerate kind of what you feel you are inwardly. So what are your
Yeah.
how important is that?
I think it's very crucial to be as self-aware as possible when
Mhm.
you are going into the dating scene. It said, to thine own self be true. I
Mhm.
think some of us are not being honest with ourselves about one, our readiness for dating.
Mm.
Some of us just aren't ready. And because we like company,
Yeah.
we aren't willing to say, you know what? I know I'm lonely right now, but I need some alone time to get myself together before I jump out there and start dating someone again. And so what we do is we attract the same type of person that we just got rid of
Mm.
because we haven't had a chance to really sit down and reflect on what it is that we want, what it is we need, what we've learned from a prior season. So I think your relationship with yourself is highly important. We see people who come off as if they have very high self-esteem,
Mm.
but then when I look at the relationships around them, I can tell they must not think as highly of themselves as they portray, because there's no way you would tolerate this type of treatment, this type of person in your space,
Mm.
if you truly thought as well of yourself as you proclaim.
That's good.
So
That's
I
good.
can tell a lot about how you feel about you based on what you tolerate.
One of the things I often say is marrying you, and you being in my life for nearly 20 years, you are a direct reflection of my intelligence,
Mhm.
which means, who I allow in my life reveals the level of intelligence that I occupy. And I think it is so, so important that you really, really evaluate where you are in your head. I
So you're
honestly,
saying you're a genius?
I
Is
am.
that
Yeah, I am a genius. Absolutely. Yes. I mean, I struck gold. Hear
Yeah,
me.
you did. Oh.
Too much. Not too much. Not too much. But how important, because I think sometimes what you're saying to yourself also reveals whether or not you're ready for dating.
Mhm.
I think you just mentioned the point that some people are in need of company.
Mhm.
So this thing that people are doing right now, they don't even call it dating. They call it friends. I
Yeah,
do
everybody's a
not
friend now.
understand kind of, maybe y'all can help us in the comments. What is the appropriate language? I
We've
mean, I
got
have
what,
ship.
situationships now, we've
Mhm.
got just friendships, we've got partnerships. I think people are
Sneaky links.
afraid.
Don't forget the
Oh
sneaky
Lord,
links.
sneaky
I
links.
learned about the sneaky links this
I
year.
wish people would stop teaching
Yeah,
you
some of y'all are
modern
in sneaky
slang.
links, and them sneaky links are going to tie you up in your soul, which we may talk about that in the next episode about soul ties, because some of you all are in relationships with people and your soul is tied to them, which is why you keep letting Jimmy slip in your DM and da 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 da. But that's not this conversation. But go ahead.
But why are you saying sneaky?
It's a
You're
sneaky
saying
link.
you're saying it like a sausage, like some like sneak link.
Well, I mean,
It,
theoretically, I mean,
oh well,
go ahead.
let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't even know what I was going to say. What was I going to say? I have no clue
The
now.
different types of dating, like
Yes, yes, yes.
situationships and stuff.
Are afraid to put a label on relationships that speaks of commitment.
Okay.
Right? It used to be very simple. You were single, you were married, you were engaged, or you were just dating. That was it.
Okay.
Now I feel like people are afraid to put a box themselves in
Mm.
to, or tie themselves down with a certain label, because with that comes a certain level of
Res-
commitment and
Commitment and
responsibility.
responsibility. Yeah.
And I think because divorce has been so high, I think a lot of us are products of divorced homes, or we saw a lot of dysfunction in the home. We are afraid to
Mm.
commit.
Okay.
We are afraid to say, I'm exclusively with this one person.
Mm.
And so now we have all of these situationships and thruples and all this other kind of stuff going on.
Mm. Which I think naturally speaks to that people zone that we mentioned, about the three areas, is because I've seen people tolerate relationships that I mean, like that just makes them cringe. And I really can't quite understand why you would tolerate being with someone that doesn't make you smile. There's a level of commitment that I've noticed people in the dating phase is having with people that doesn't make them happy. And so I really want to make sure that those of you, if you are in the beauty of still being able to choose and you have options. Now, for those of us who are already married, celebrate your pick. There's nothing you can do about it. Our prayer is that God does something where you can fall in love with your pick. But those of you who are have the gift and the beauty of still choosing, one of the things I really want to make sure that we communicate in this episode is you have to ask yourself, what relationships do you continue to tolerate because you just don't know how to be by yourself?
Mhm.
That is so important. I think if you can't settle at being at peace, being alone, you're going to be miserable trying to make someone occupy a space that they never can occupy. And I think that's a danger zone, which is why when we then move the relationship into marriage, it becomes problematic because you were not at peace by yourself. What would you say about
That's
that?
good. No, I agree. I think when we know why we're dating, when we know where we're headed, then it helps us make better choices
Mm,
about who we surround
that's
ourselves
good.
with because those people have our ear, they have our heart, they have
Mhm.
our time, they have precious commodities that
Mm,
we can't get back.
it's true.
And so I think it's important to say, okay, if I'm going here, does this person help get me closer to God? Does this person
Absolutely.
help get me closer to my purpose? Is this person aligned with the type of person that I'm hoping to be? Or is this person helping affirm my now? And I'm trying to get out or evolve into something better. And so we all have those choices to make.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the scripture says, let us lay aside every weight and sin, just because the person in your life may not be the product of sin. However, they could be a measure of weight that drains your joy. I don't know how people can tolerate being in situationships or relationships where they just drain joy. One of the thoughts that I want to make sure to mention, and I would love for you to speak on it a little bit, about this new insanity is trying to get others to be different so you can be your best self. I think that is backwards thinking, in thinking that someone trying to force someone to change into being who you want them to be so the best part of you can show up.
Only person that we can change or that we have control over is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I remember someone told me one time, you can't make grown folks do.
Mm-hmm.
And that has stuck with me for forever because this person was absolutely right. I can't make another adult do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only responsible for myself. Now, here's where the setting of boundaries comes in is that I get to say, this is what it takes to be in relationship with me
Yeah.
in a healthy way. I'm not going to force you to do anything. However, I'm going to let you know that this is what it takes to be in relationship with me. If you can do that, great. We can be in relationship together. If you can't, that's okay. We just can't be in relationship together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a boundary is. A boundary isn't you can't talk to me like that. I won't talk. A boundary says, listen, I don't appreciate being talked to that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you continue to talk to me that way, I'm going to end the conversation.
Sure.
So
That's
I'm
good.
giving you a choice. You can continue to talk that way, but I'm going to end the conversation because I know ultimately I can't make you do anything,
That's
but
good.
I can do what I can control, which is your access to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same thing with people. A lot of times we do, particularly women, we get into relationships with men that we know have deep character flaws or issues, and we think we can fix them.
Mm-hmm.
We think if we love him enough, if we support him enough, we make up all these narratives in our head. He just hasn't had the right support. He just
Oh,
hasn't
I
had the right
appreciate that.
woman. He's just trying his best and he's down on his luck. We come up with all of these scenarios for people. And it's not just women. Men
They
do the
do.
same
Absolutely.
thing. You
Absolutely.
guys have people in your life that are projects that you
Don't let her have a kid. Oh
right
Lord,
now he just
listen.
needs a dad. She
I
just
just
needs some help.
we just have
All
a
these
soft
things.
spot for the kids.
And
I know I
listen,
did.
well, did you have a soft spot for the kids or were you trying to
Listen,
do
that's
other
not what this
things?
episode is all about. It's really about measuring
Because
the
I
two.
know many a brother has bought a young kid a pair of Jordans just so he can smash. Like, come on now. You taking them to Chuck E. Cheese so you can smash. You don't want to be at
Good
Chuck E.
Lord have
Cheese.
mercy.
But anyway, so I'm just saying sometimes we go into relationships with people trying to fix them
Okay,
in a hopes that we can have the relationship with them that we want
that's good.
versus saying this person needs to work out their own issues and then maybe we can have a relationship. We
That's
get the
good.
cart before the horse
That's
where it
absolutely.
comes to people.
I think also in connection to that, which speaks to that third point, which is our
Purpose.
purpose. I believe one should not be dating if they have not concretized their purpose. Especially as a Christian, we understand that our purpose, according to Matthew 28, we all have the same universal purpose, and it's to go ye therefore and make disciples. Where the challenge comes in is a lot of people are unclear on assignments. Your assignment matters. If you once you figure out your assignment, then you know the type of people you can tolerate.
Mm.
I've seen people get married without communicating what their assignment here is on the earth. And so what happens is you have two people who are going in polar opposite directions. You want to be, I don't know if in the mission field or whatever the case may be, as a guy, you want to travel the world and minister in other countries, while the spouse you're with wants to be a home wife, have children, and things of that nature. That's something y'all need to be talking about because I've discovered a lot of people aren't having those necessary conversations. That's kind of, I do want to speak to that a little bit because I need those who are in the season of dating and really take this under serious observation, how critical it is to get clear on your assignment.
Mhm.
Because if you have some dreams, if you have some goals, and you link up with someone who has goals that are opposite of that, it doesn't matter how great of a person they are, it's not a good fit for you. And it possibly will save you some sleepless nights, possibly investing in a relationship that is costly. How important is it to really get clear on that assignment? Is it okay for me to date unsure of my assignment? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that how we walk out our purpose can vary
Hmm.
over our lives, right? Your calling and those types of things tend to be a little more concrete. But how we carry that out
Hmm.
can vary. While you were talking about this, it made me think about our own relationship.
Okay.
I remember when we were dating, and we both started going to the same church, and we ended up being a part of that church's leadership. And you had been an assistant pastor before, and I asked her, I said, "Do you ever see yourself
Yeah, I'm
pastoring?"
sorry. I'm sorry.
And you said,
Yeah.
"Absolutely
I
not.
was I
I
was
would
I was
never.
adamant.
I see what all senior pastors go through, their
Absolutely.
families go through.
I
Oh,
wouldn't wish this upon my
no,
own enemies.
absolutely not." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Because yeah, I wouldn't want
Go
to
ahead.
be a first lady anyway. Like, okay, cool. We're on the same page. We love the Lord. We love serving in the church. We're givers. We're tithers. We're all in as far as the church is concerned. But you don't ever want to start your own church. I can get with that. And then 6 months into the marriage, here you come.
Had a light
Uh,
bulb moment.
See what had happened was, and then you felt like God was calling us to start a church,
You know,
and that
you felt hoodwinked.
I did.
Yeah, you did feel hoodwinked.
I
I
did.
distinctively remember that, and it's interesting that you bring that up because we had some heated debates and conversations over it because we're now married, and how do I live out what I feel is my assignment married to someone who asked me that question point blank period is upfront like, yo, is this what you feel? Because you felt like if I'd have known this, I wouldn't chosen this road. And I did not know, that's, I really didn't know. I didn't honest. I'm serious. I did not know.
6 months later,
Do I look
six
like
months after I
I
said
did
I
not
do, now
know.
you know.
I did not know. But I also realized that in communicating that with you, I also had the duty and the obligation, one, to be prayerful about it and wait until you came into that revelation. I think sometimes now we get into marriage. Lord help. We
I'm
just cannot
But
avoid it.
this is
We
important
cannot
though,
avoid this.
because
We said this was going to be for the
and
singles, the
it
people.
still is.
Okay.
It
Okay.
still is.
All right.
Because, um, a lot of people are not I had an inkling, just watching you work around the church, the
Mm.
excitement that you got, the joy that you got in pouring into people. I had a suspicion that pastoring was in your future, which is why I asked.
Wow.
When you said no, I left it there.
Okay.
I should have kept digging. I should have prayed about it.
Okay.
I didn't take that to the Lord.
Gotcha.
I just took your word, okay,
Well,
and
I'm
left it
glad you
there.
didn't,
So what
'cause
I'm
then
saying
would you
is,
have married me if
for the singles,
would you have married me if the Lord told you I was going to be a pastor?
probably not.
I'm glad you didn't take it to him. I'm so glad you did, because I'd
Probably
have
not.
missed out on you.
Yes, we would have missed out on
And
a
you are an
wonderful life.
amazing pastor. You
Thank
are
you.
an amazing co-pastor. You're not
Thank
just
you.
a like a first lady. No, you are a profound teacher and communicator. I love that about you. Go ahead.
Thank
I'm sorry.
you. Sometimes, I mean, there's no accidents or coincidences in the Lord. He orders every one of our
Absolutely.
steps. So I don't, sit here cursing every day because, this is where we are. However, I do think the 20-something-year-old version of me absolutely did not want any part of leading a church.
Mm,
Right.
okay.
So, I guess the Lord maybe hid that, hid that from me so that I could go ahead and walk in my purpose. But um, I'm saying that for the single person, if you are feeling something, it's worth the conversation. And then you have to ask yourself, are you willing to walk away?
Mm,
Are you willing to walk away if you know what someone has planned for their future doesn't align with your future? If he says he wants kids and you don't,
mm,
why marry? And then you guys argue back and forth every year about whether or not, because someone is trying to break down the will of the other
mm,
person to get, because that's a fundamental thing.
mm,
That's not just, are we going to live in the city or the suburbs?
mm.
Something that's fundamental as kids, your purpose, your life, your call,
Yeah, shared beliefs.
shared
I
belief.
know
These are all
couples.
things that
Yeah,
you
I
need to be
know
discussing.
people that couples that are actually together and dating and do not agree on some spiritual matters.
Mhm.
And those to me are really, really strong red flags. But I think what happens in the dating phase is we become more sexual compatible than we do for each other's lives. And we allow our sexual compatibility to really trump our connection towards our assignment. And
Absolutely.
you discover in marriage, sex, it just,
Well,
once that phase is over or past, okay, what are you going to say?
no, no, no. I was agreeing with you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
It's
off.
okay.
But in that, you better make sure that you are compatible for life.
Mm,
Sex, you can teach somebody how to make you happy sexually.
mm,
Like really, if they've got a brain and some effort, you can teach them how to be sexually compatible. But your life you're walking out of your life
absolutely.
passions. You really need to sit down to decide if you guys are compatible.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
good.
agree with you.
Let's give them some advice here. If you are getting any value from what we've shared today, why don't you drop in the comments what, if you're single, what's been your greatest challenge in these dating streets? We want to know. We want to know.
We
Let
have
us
been
know.
told on multiple occasions that
If
the
I
dating
hear it one
pool
more
has
time,
pee in it.
if
We have been told that. I am so grateful that I am not out in the dating world right now. It is very different. It's very challenging. My heart goes out to those who desire to be married and are just having a tough time out there finding someone of quality
Mhm.
substance to date, let alone spend their life with. So we're not taking this lightly as
Yeah.
people who are married and been married for a while. My heart does go out every time I hear or encounter a man or a woman who's saying, I really desire to be married. I'm really trying. I think I'm a person of substance. I feel like I've done my work. Where are all of the normal people? Like, what is going on out here? And some of the stories that I hear about people trying to date, it just makes me
Mm,
cringe. It just makes me cringe. I remember going on a girls' trip with the ladies at the church
mhm,
a few years back, and they were talking about pics
mm.
that guys were sending them pics, and
Oh, I thought
and
you
I'm
meant like
like,
toothpicks.
no, like pictures. And I'm like, oh, what are they sending you pictures of? And they're like, Pastor D, and I'm
Zucchinis.
like, who is sending? I was floored. I'm like, who is sending you pictures of the? And there, one girl was like, oh, I got a bunch of them in my phone. I almost ran off the road. I'm like, do you know when I was dating? Now here I am. I'm getting ready to sound really old, like somebody's grandma. If a man sent me a picture of his penis, do you know?
Zucchini.
I would zucchini. I'm sorry. I would be filing charges. I'd be like, you raggedy dog. If you don't get this off my phone, what is wrong with you? But this is how people are flirting now. It's no longer a wink. It's no longer a you smell nice. It's no longer can we get a cup of coffee. It's sliding in somebody's DMs with a picture of your extremities. How do I even know that's yours? Why is it greasy? Like, what is
Oh
going on?
my
I
God.
just don't understand what's going on with these pictures. But anyway, it's different now in these dating streets. And my heart goes out to my children who are out here single and dating and having to navigate all these new nuances of what it means to be masculine and feminine and a partner, and how do we date as Christians, and how important is that anymore? Is your faith even important in your dating situation? And do we wait or do we move in to get like all of these things that to me were a little more black and white when you and I were
That's
dating.
good. That's good. Let's get, and I want to make sure that, we don't want to, the assumption is we understand the basics. Okay. If you're a child of God, you understand being with somebody with similar beliefs. So we're not going down
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
path.
yeah.
Today, we want to dig more into some of the danger zones that we have just naturally observed in seeing other people date,
Right.
particularly those that we lead sometimes in our church, outside of our church. And so we just want to share some wisdom with you that you can apply as you search out if you're in a position where you feel like you want to be intentional in your dating. The first mistake that I've noticed, and I've tried to put language to explain some of the scenarios that I've seen people in. And the first mistake that I've seen single people engage in making is dating a parasite. You heard me correctly, a parasite. And I want to give the Webster Dictionary of a parasite. And what we want to do is build from that so you can see kind of the parallel and the bridge between being with a parasite and the person, or having a parasite, and then being with someone that is akin to being a parasite. Parasites are biological organisms that live and are sustained at the expense of the host. They release waste and toxin in the body of the host, and they feed off of the host and offer no adequate or useful return. What I'm trying to get you to see is that some of you in the dating phase are dating people who drain you and offer literally nothing in return. I don't get it. I don't understand why you're killing your time, burning time through because you cannot get it back. These are the individuals that feed off your energy, your resources, even your emotions, but not contribute to your growth. If someone is dating a parasite, what would you say to them? And I were considering putting together this channel. We had one objective in mind. It was to find a way to answer specific questions in the 4 areas that provide both highs and lows in life. That's marriage, ministry, mental health, and money. So if you're getting any value from the content that is shared today, I want you to do us a solid. Why don't you hit the subscribe button, turn on those alerts, and then let us know what you're getting from today's episode. I want you to know that we're praying for you. Thank you so much for checking out our brand new channel. Back to the episode.
Really, every person who has any dating experience has had a parasite or a parasitic
Absolutely.
relationship. We've all, male or female,
I've
doesn't
never been
matter.
in one. I don't know that I can recall ever being in a parasite. All of my relationships have been pretty good, actually.
Really?
I have. I've
The
never.
young lady that bleached all your clothes, the one that ran you over in your own car,
Okay, first of
the
all, that
one
wasn't
that
news. I hadn't come out with that yet, and I cannot believe I shared that with you in privacy, and
but you're sitting here saying you've never had a bad relate. Somebody tried to run me over in my own car with my
I
own
forgot.
TriStars.
I
I
forgot about that. I
Yeah.
did forget about that. I take that back. I have been in a parasitic relationship. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
As you were.
Thought so. But if listen, if you like it, I love it. But to me, it sounds pretty
It
toxic.
was toxic. It was. I
Um,
forgot about that.
oh,
I
what
was
you
in my
call
own. It's
Erase.
you bringing up old nature stuff, but it's okay. It's cool. Go ahead.
Okay. Um, anyway, male or female, I think we've all been in some sort of parasitic or toxic relationship where we're doing all of the giving,
Yeah.
giving, the person's doing all of the taking and not really adding anything of value. And sometimes we can take small gestures
Mm,
and we inflate them and blow them up to be
mhm,
more than what they are, when really they're just table stake behavior. Things like him remembering your birthday. Sis, that's not sweet, that's not special. That's what your man should do. He should remember your
mm,
birthday. Putting gas back in your car after they've used your car. That's just what a courteous
mm,
person would do. You know what I mean? Checking on you when you say you've got a cold or whatever. That's what a normal,
mm,
even your coworkers do that. If you say, "Hey, I've been out sick." Like sometimes we take little small, just normal human gestures and we inflate them for the parasite to make it seem as if they're contributing to the relationship, when deep down, when we start looking and comparing apples and apples, they're not contributing anything. This is the
mm,
person who's sitting on the couch playing the PlayStation while you're out working
mm.
and they're dropping you off in your car.
Lord, don't get me started on that. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't
Some people
understand
won't understand.
how you can be in a relationship with someone and they're just living off of you.
But
I don't get
again,
it.
it goes back to the I just want company.
Okay, fair.
I know he dropped me off in my
Yeah.
car. He's coming to pick me, and I got to take the bus home. But when I get home, at least there's a body there.
Mm,
Some of us just want company.
that's good.
I know she's crazy as a
It
loon,
is.
but she's fine,
And she
and
good.
and
She's
she's and
good in her
she's
head.
and she's
She
there.
does some things with some
Okay.
change
See,
in their
here you go.
bedroom that I mean, sis, she's
And it got you ran
it
over.
did. It didn't get me ran over. She attempted to run me. I want to be clear, Christina. She didn't run me over. She took the keys from my car and
Mhm.
attempted to run me, but it didn't happen.
Look at you making excuses for the parasite.
And that's what we tend to do.
Exactly.
We defend our
Right.
parasites.
He
We
didn't
defend
punch me. He just pushed me down. He's
this is true.
on you.
This is true.
You know what I
This
mean?
is true.
So this is the prime example of what
Okay.
happens in
Thank you
parasitic
for this therapy
relationships.
session. I didn't realize, but thank you so much for that. One of the things that's interesting about a parasite that I think is a fun fact. A fun fact about a parasite is the way you know you got a parasite is through teeth grinding.
Hmm?
Teeth grinding, making you grind your teeth. When you grind your teeth a lot, they say it's symptoms of you actually having a parasite.
Oh, I need to go get checked out because I grind my teeth all the time.
You
I
might.
need to go get you. I have a doctor's appointment on
Do you
Monday. I'm gonna
ask them
see
to check
about
it?
that.
That's a
Yes.
fun fact. Teeth grinding, and when you look at that in connection to relationship, a parasitic relationship, although it may not require or cause you to physically grind your teeth, they do require you to grind out in life. Like it's really tough. Like
Mhm.
it's a press. It's a drag. You get on the phone with them. If it ain't one thing, it's something else. That's how you know when you're in a really
Mhm.
parasitic relationship. If the relationship does nothing more than make you work harder, it may actually be a parasite.
Right.
Okay.
And I know we're talking about dating, but these same types of people show up in friendships
They do.
as well.
They do.
So some of us are in some toxic friendships that we're
Mhm.
always
Yeah,
pouring and there's no reciprocity.
that's
So
good.
the
Which
next one, the second mistake of is the mistake of dating assignments.
mm,
The mistake of confusing your assignment with a potential spouse. Assignments are ministry connections. These are people you are called to help,
mm,
not date. This is that missionary dating.
Lord help us today.
This is that, I'm going to get him off the highways and byways and clean him up and get him saved and all of that. And this is your prison pen pal that now you want to date. Listen,
Not
let the,
your prison pen pop.
I'm just
Girl,
saying.
how old are you? Is that even a thing still? Is
Damn,
it really?
yes.
I didn't know that.
People still write people.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. All right.
I mean, what are they doing? Emailing them?
I They may be with
They do.
technology.
I don't know. I've never been, so I don't know. I was on probation once, but
For
I've never.
tickets. Girl, get out of here with that. You ain't got no. I know you're wearing the gold chain today, but you ain't got no street in you. So I know you
I
really
was on
okay, babe.
probation.
For tickets.
What is the
Tick
difference?
that's not what this episode is about. Let's stick to what the
It's not like
episode
I'm
is
trying to
about.
be a fugitive or
It's
anything, but
okay,
I'm
but
just saying I have
you
been
really
on.
want to be like street
I
hood.
don't want to be
Yes, you
street. I
do.
don't
That's why you go
want.
around publicizing. I had a record. What?
I've
You have
never
said that.
I've
You have said
never record.
I've been on probation. I know what it's like to be on to not
First
get
of
a
all,
ticket in 90 days. It's not probation.
let's back up
Okay,
just a
I'm just
second.
saying. Yeah, I don't,
And you can edit this out if you need to, but let me just set the record straight because I feel like you disparaging my name. First of all, I have never said I have a record. I have never tried to
okay,
pretend like I'm from the street.
okay.
Okay. I know I'm not hood and got street cred and all that kind of stuff. That's fine with me. I'm fine with my background.
Mm,
However, sir, I did have a deferred adjudication, which
okay,
is probation
okay. All right.
for my tickets.
Okay,
And it was stressful driving on the
okay.
streets, trying not to get another traffic
Ma'am, it's
infraction
as
or
simple.
violation,
Okay.
and then end up with having that on my record and having to pay fines, maybe even having my license revoked
Girl, bye.
because of
Bye.
my driving record.
Bye.
So
Bye.
don't try to diminish the
Anyway.
stress that I was under to
Okay.
stay a law abiding
I
citizen.
don't know how we even got on
I
that,
don't either.
but
Prison
anyway,
pen pals. That's
prison
funny.
pen
But
pals.
anyway, let's talk about assignments. Go ahead, man.
Anyway, the point I think that we're trying to make is I think some people sometimes we can't help ourselves with when God sends someone in our lives, especially if we are Christian, if we are followers of Jesus and we're following that pattern and that process, we naturally attract people in our lives that like us. And many
I need
times,
help.
and these individuals will at some point need help. I think the problem is we're trying to lead them to God and us. And this is where we get in trouble. It is we want something out of the deal,
That's
and
good.
you can't you especially being a child of God, being a Christian, when it comes to dating, just because of the opposite sex or just because you're attracted to them, that quite naturally takes place, especially if you guys are building a journey together, walking together, growing in the Lord. I've seen people marry assignments and they regret it. That is, it's the worst feeling one could ever have. It's marrying somebody that was really someone that you were called to lead into a loving relationship with God, help them grow and get to where God wants them to be. But you feel like I got to get something out of it, and you open your heart and your soul and your life to them in a way that really you two are not compatible. I
Mhm.
mean, it can't be no clearer than that. What are your thoughts?
That's good. No, I agree. I think you wrapped it up really nicely.
Okay, let's give them the third point.
Okay. The mistake of pursuing perfection. We've all been there. Every marriage works because of partnership,
Mhm,
not perfection,
mhm,
right? You are never going to find the absolute perfect person.
mhm.
I think sometimes we have unrealistic expectations. Now, I'm a person who believes in having a standard.
Okay.
Okay. My mom taught me you make a list of your ideal spouse and you be very specific with that list down what do you want him to like children? Does he need to be a non-smoker? Does he need to be a certain height?
Mhm,
Does he need to be a certain weight? Does he need to be athletic? Do you want him to be in a certain type of field? Do you want him to love the Lord? Do you want him to be a preacher? Like all of these things should be very specific in what you want in a mate and be very clear. However, I think some of us have unrealistic expectations and we miss the beauty of the person standing in front of us because we said he has to be 6 foot and he's 5'10" and a half.
mhm.
And some people are unwilling to budge on things that are a little inconsequential.
Okay.
Now, we all have our things that are non-negotiables,
Okay.
right? Like for you, if I was a smoker,
Not happening.
you wouldn't have even looked in my direction
Mm-mm.
twice.
Nope.
Right. Because for you, that's a deal breaker. I'm not talking about those types of things. If I was Muslim and was refusing to be open to Christianity and that sort of thing, you would not have attempted to date me. Right. So I'm not talking about those types of things, but if your dating scope is so narrow,
Mm.
you may very well miss out on a perfect person because they are not packaged the way you would
Do
ultimately
you
expect.
feel like, okay, this is good. This is a good point here. We got to sit here for a second.
Okay.
Do you feel like because I ask you this question all the time. I don't think I was where I needed to be when we first started dating, and even when we started seriously dating. I had some areas that really needed to be worked on, and prayed through and talked through, etc. What made you give me a chance as a partner? Because I was a good partner. I realized that, and that's really what we're trying to communicate here is a partner could actually be standing in your face and you miss them because they may be missing a box or two that you can't check. What made you give me a chance when I felt that maybe I didn't measure up to your list that you had?
You checked so many of the crucial boxes.
Okay.
And the boxes that you didn't check were things that either I could live with, or they were things that when I brought them to your attention, you were like, I'll work on that.
Mhm.
And over the years, you have proven to me that when you tell me you'll work on something, you actually do work on it.
Okay. Okay.
And so the fundamental things, you were kind, you were protective,
Mm.
you were intelligent, you were
Kind.
you is smart,
You
you
is
is
important.
important. Yes. And so I could work with that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You weren't somebody who had had to be afraid of. My children weren't afraid of you. You know, you just checked a lot of the fundamental boxes. And I think we're missing out on quality people for very shallow reasons.
Okay. And what's classified as shallow?
She's not 36, 24, 36.
Okay.
Well, bruh, you might marry her at those measurements, and 5 years down the line, she's not that anymore
Mm.
anyway.
Okay.
You know, you're a 5 looking for a 10,
Okay. Ooh. Ooh. That's a big one.
you know?
How important is league? Can you, am I
Um,
crazy for dating out of my league? Or because I could be missing two front teeth and be going for the chick that's bad, to the bone. I mean, what are your thoughts on dating in your league or your category, or is there one?
well, here's the thing. I said that a little facetiously,
Okay,
right?
okay,
Because
okay.
people can be attracted to whoever they want to
All
be
right.
attracted to. Fives can be attracted to tens, vice versa, right? You don't have to just stick in your quote unquote league. I was saying that to be a little
Okay.
funny. However, for men are always going to shoot their shot. I don't care. Just like you said, I've had more toothless people, hairline all over the place, come up to me in the grocery store. And I'm like, do I look like I want somebody who got a chew on the side? Like, what is going on here? So, men are always going to shoot their shot. You guys are like, and there's proof that it works.
Mm,
It's proof that it works.
okay.
Janet Jackson married Jermaine Dupri. Beyonce is married to Jay-Z.
It's
You know what I
true.
mean? Shoot your shot. Birdman is married to Tony Braxton. Shoot your shot, right? Women are less likely to shoot their shot.
Mm,
One, we're less likely to approach a man in the first place just because of social conditioning,
mhm,
right? That we're taught that's a no-no for women, which is, malarkey. But
mhm.
we are more in our head. We're more conscious of how we look. We tend to downplay what we can pull, not knowing that you can be a solid 7 and still pull a 10.
Okay.
Right? So we have a little bit less confidence
Mm,
than men do when it comes to that sort of thing. But what I'm talking about is not even so much looks, but substance.
mm,
When you hear Tony Braxton talk about Birdman, she talks about how good of friends they are and have been for many years.
got you.
How when she was going through the toughest times of her life, that he was there for her, how he makes her laugh.
Mm,
Right? So where people might be looking like these are two people from two different ends of the spectrum, they share common things that are fundamental to her,
it's
which
good.
is why she's married to him.
Got you. So we
Right?
have to be careful with the superficial expectations
Right.
versus realistic expectations. I think
Absolutely.
that's important in dating. Some people I feel are just a little too shallow and too superficial.
Right.
And if you're going to date and if you're going to seriously date, we don't get to complain that we're not finding the right one because of our superficial approach that we take. You got to make sure that you really, really are being honest with yourself and maybe have somebody just, is there
Ask
anything
for
wrong with
feedback.
give for feedback
Mhm.
on, is that a thing?
I encourage feedback, but here's the thing, even about talking about the leagues, sometimes we expect something out of a partner that we are not.
Oh my God.
That's where the 5 and the 10 come from,
Okay.
right? You're wanting somebody who makes over 6 figures and owns their own home and owns their own business and takes his mama to church every Sunday and pearly perfect white teeth and works out and cooks and all of these things when you are a hot mess.
Mm.
You don't know who you are. You don't know what you want to do for your career. Your credit is shot. You ain't had a checkup or a physical in 3 years. You're all over the place. Your mental health is not
That's
well.
good.
You don't take care of yourself, but you want somebody who has all these things together.
Hmm.
That's a little unrealistic because we tend to attract to us what we are,
That's
right? And so if you're all over the place and you're a hot mess, why do you think somebody who has their life all together wants to invite your chaos into their stability?
mm,
So sometimes I think we're looking for somebody that is not going to want to introduce your chaos into their situation. And so when you attract what you really are, now you're offended.
yeah.
Well, I mean, he's chaotic and he's coming over here because you're chaotic.
That's good. That's good. I think I've seen people wait to become when they should work on becoming now.
Mhm.
And if you wait to become, you're going to invite distractions along the journey of dating.
Yep.
Don't hold off your life waiting for the person that you think will complete that. That's a lie from the pits of hell. People, when they say things like, "Oh, she completes me," no, I don't know that she completes me or he completes me. I believe they complement you. They add to what's already been solid. I think we inadvertently make each other responsible and become something that we never can fulfill. It's
Mhm.
a role, it's a duty that I cannot fulfill. And if you're not careful, you can be in dating expecting someone to give you something that they cannot give you.
Mhm.
I can't give you purpose. What I can do is complement your purpose
Mhm.
by ensuring that whatever I do helps assist and complement that and promote that. And I see a lot of people and I watch their partner is standing right in front of them. But because they may have moved them to the friend
Free
zone or
zone.
that's just my guy or whatever, you don't realize that a good cat or a good lady is standing right before you. But because a few boxes doesn't check, you miss out on the best thing happening for you right in front of you.
Well, let's talk about because you say this all the time and you say I'm a little naive in this area. I know somebody who's in that exact same situation. This guy adores her. He's been there for her throughout the years.
Hmm.
He's proven himself to be a solid dude. She's not attracted to him.
Jesus.
She's just not attracted to him. He's a solid dude, been there, but she can't do it. She's like, I just can't do it. I'm not attracted to him. What do you say to that? Because for me, how you treat me is
Yeah.
what's
Yeah,
attractive
for
to
sure.
me.
For sure.
Your character is attractive. If you have a personality, a sense of humor, those types of things are attractive to me. Now, I'm not blind. I have a certain thing that I like,
Mm,
but at the same time, that's not the end all be all.
sure.
I've dated dudes who technically were ugly just
Yeah,
because they were
I've seen your previous draft picks. Yeah, your draft picks have been a
Yeah,
little struggle. I'm the best thing you've
I've
had.
had some booger wolves, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh Lord have mercy.
But they were good to me.
Mm,
They were good to me. And so I could overlook some stuff because you're so good to me.
okay.
What you don't feel that
I
way.
do
You
not
feel
feel that
like,
way. I don't feel like you should date anyone and I mean anyone. And I know in Christendom, we like to tell people, well, you want to make sure that they're a Christian and they love the Lord and they're committed to the Lord, equal investment and involvement in Christian community. That's not my rule of thumb. It's a part of the equation, but my first rule is the law of attraction. You have to like what you see. If you do not like what you see, it doesn't matter what they believe. We have been taught, well, they got to be a Christian first and then like what you see on down the roster. No, I'm not selling that. I'm not buying that, because you could be a prayer warrior, you can be the evangelist and travel the country, but if you don't make me jump, if you don't make my body leap like John the Baptist, who was it, Mary and Martha, when they got in the room and their wombs began to leap.
Okay.
I need something to leap in me when I see you. And and I know this is where we sometimes differ, but I'm like, no, you gotta like what you see. If you don't like what you see, then don't try to make something work that you don't like. Because after y'all say I do, after y'all have a great church experience, you got to go home to that and you got to see that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And sometimes it's not even with your physical eyes, it's also with, if I don't like your spirit,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not attracted to your spirit, if you don't, you know what I'm saying? Because you could be beautiful and have a nasty spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just a part of who you are, you know.
Right.
So excuse me. So for me, I feel like something has to jump in me. And now you got to be careful with that, because you can be superficial, guys. We can be a bit superficial. It
Mm-hmm.
is, we expect people to change, stay the same way they were when we met them on day one. Y'all have kids, y'all do life together, things of that nature. Your body's going to change,
Mm-hmm.
but you want to discuss those things on the front end. So I'm not speaking to that regard, but you got to at least have
Like what you see.
like what you see. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
it's my thoughts.
Okay.
All right.
No, I agree. I think there's a benefit, of course, to being
Mhm.
attracted. I mean, you got to be able to look at them and kiss them and roll over and look at them in the morning, that kind of thing. So I get it. I just think sometimes we do miss out on wonderful
Yeah,
people
for sure.
because we don't allow ourselves to see the beauty in people past their looks.
Mm. That sounds so cute. Oh, just looking past the people because of their looks. But you gotta like what you see. You do. It's
I'm
all
not
right.
saying you don't. You're right. You do.
So we've covered the mistake of dating a parasite. We've covered the mistake of dating assignments. We've covered the mistake of pursuing perfection. Let's talk about now what we see people do is the mistake of overlooking a promoter. A promoter is an individual who helps you reach those new levels. These are people who can help give you access to resources, opportunities, and even emotional strength that you cannot really reach by yourself. But too often, people miss the value of a promoter because, once again, they don't fit that superficial checklist. Now, let's talk about that, because I want to make sure that we don't blur the lines in this idea of thinking that a promoter, I'm with you because of what I can get from you. That's
Right.
that's not what we're saying here. But my life should at least level up being connected to you. I mean, I'm
Right.
just saying,
Yours
like, there,
has.
yeah. And yours has as
It
well,
has.
yes. So, all right, but go ahead. Let's let's expand that, or explain that rather. What are your
Absolutely. I think, in particular, I think sometimes ladies, we tend to misread the signs, or we're quick to friend zone the nice guys, the guy who is going to
square?
the square,
Yeah.
or the guy who's going to invest in you and who you are. Men are pretty simple. I think as women, we complicate things. If a man is investing in you,
Mhm.
your business, your dreams, your hopes, if he's cheering you on, if he's opening doors, if he's giving access, if he's leveraging his influence for your behalf, he cares about you.
Mhm.
He cares about you. If he's the one who's always encouraging you to go pursue the degree, or to open the store, or to create the website, whatever the case may
Mhm.
be, he cares about you. And
Mhm.
I think sometimes we downplay that as just, oh, that's just my friend, and Fred is cool. But let me tell you, when the rubber meets the road,
Fred is there.
Fred is there, and that's what makes for a good partner.
Mm. And promote. Yeah.
A promoter makes for a good partner.
Mm.
And again, it's not about just using somebody because you can level up your life because he has money or status or she has influence or whatever the case may be. It's not using them for what they have. It is what they are lending you and seeing the value in that and seeing that this makes for a good
Wow.
partner. Guys, if you are dating with the purpose of getting married, you have to stop just dating for looks
Mm.
and for who makes you laugh. Because there's going to be moments in your marriage that are going to want to make you cry.
Mhm.
And you have to have a person who still believes in you, even when you make mistakes,
That's good.
who still sees the best in you when you're not lovable and you're at your best.
Mm.
And a lot of times, the people that are in that promoter category are those people because they already see you in your full potential, even though you haven't realized that.
That's good.
And they're willing to put something of their own personal investment, whether it's time, encouragement, money, reason, whatever, into that.
That's good.
And so I'm not saying, you got to marry your manager. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is sometimes we are quick to just overlook people who would actually make very good partners.
That's good. I think one of the key giveaways for a promoter is also seeing that long-term value. I think sometimes, often a promoter may not have the flashy qualities on the front end, but some of the things you'll see in a promoter is they possess the ability to really help elevate you and what's on your life. There's nothing like being with someone who pushes you. You know,
We've been that for
to each
each
other.
other.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we started out as really, really good friends. And I think we moved immediately into promoter mode
Hmm.
for each other.
Hmm.
I have supported wholeheartedly every
You have,
business
you have.
that you've come up with over
Mhm.
the last 18 years. I told myself, no matter what, you were always going to have one somebody who believed in you.
Absolutely.
So even when it didn't make sense to me, I was still there. You can do it. You got it. How can I get behind it? RCU is up and running because of you.
Wow.
It's set for a year. And you pushed me to say, girl, when we going to flip the light on this school? What are we doing? What are you waiting on? And then when I got so inundated with work, you helped keep it afloat, and so our lives, I think, would be significantly different if
Mhm.
we hadn't played the promoter role in each
That's
other's
good.
lives.
That's good. That's good. Let's give them the final point. Listen, I hope that what we've shared today has been of some value up to this point. We really want to know what are some of your greatest takeaways before we give this final point. But I really want to help level set some of you all that are in this season of dating. Really consider those first few points that we've shared with you guys, because I got a suspicion that some of you all are looking outside of the circumference of the relationships that are standing right before you. Evaluate the consistency of someone that's in your life, and you may actually realize that the person you've been praying for is standing right there in front of you. Why continue to date Bozo when Boaz is standing right there in your presence, trying to help add value to your life, but because he don't look like the perfect picture of all of the boxes you checked, you're missing out on a great opportunity. So let's give them the final point.
The final point is the mistake of ignoring red
Red flag.
flags.
Yeah.
One of the most dangerous mistakes in dating is ignoring red flags. We all have this intuition that lets us know when something is not right.
Mhm.
And when people show us who they are, we have to get into the habit of
Believe in
believing
them.
them.
Yes.
And it's possible to become emotionally invested to the point where we overlook red flags. And
Jesus.
sometimes it's because we've already played out in our head how we want the relationship to go.
One of the things I want to ask, how does a soul tie blind you to a red flag? And I feel like we need to do an episode on destroying soul ties, because there are people who are actively dating right now, and it's just me and you, so nobody else is there. They're actively dating someone, and everything in their heart, their spirit, their emotions, their discernment it's a red flag that is ringing out loud, but they're ignoring it because of the strength of that soul tie. Do you feel like soul ties have a way into blinding us to make hard decisions in relationships that we know are unhealthy for us.
I mean, it just makes it more difficult.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you don't see the red flag. It just makes it more difficult for you to actually act on it and in the relationship. And so that's why it's important to avoid things that create soul ties with people prior to marriage, simply because it does help cloud your judgment.
Okay.
And we've all been there. And again, it's because we want the other thing.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to ignore the fact that he's extremely jealous because I like all of the other things. I'm going to ignore the fact that he's extremely controlling because I like all of the other things.
Okay.
It's not that we don't see them. We just choose to ignore them. And that's dangerous, because here's the thing. People don't stop being who they are after marriage. Whoever they are dating, that you may not, and that's why you have to ask yourself, can I deal with this person's level of X, Y, and Z? Because once we get married, it's only amplified.
Okay.
While you're dating, you have the choice to walk away. Once you get married, walking away is a lot harder.
That's good. That's good. Is and this question just came about. Is sex before marriage a red flag, if I'm asking?
If you're asking for sex
If I'm
before marriage,
asking for sex before marriage, is that a red flag? Do you cancel me out of being a potential person you're interested in because I'm interested in sex?
no.
Okay, how do you handle it?
That's just a natural desire. So I don't think I would cancel somebody out for being attracted to me and wanting to sleep with me.
Okay.
I would have to consider whether or not they respect me and my boundaries if I've made that known. If I have not made that known and they shoot their shot, I'm flattered. However, I've chosen not to engage in that until I get married. How do you feel about that?
Okay.
And if he says, yeah, I'm not with that, then you know that that's not a person that you should continue to date. Because again, my job is not to convince you to be celibate. It is to just let you know that I'm celibate, ask that you respect that. And if you can't, that's cool. There's plenty of women that that's not their standard, and I wish you the best with them. But what happens is we start bending our wills and we start playing with it. Once he says, yeah, I'm not really with that. So then you start doing stuff that's sex adjacent, right? To keep him interested, because you hope that if he likes you enough and falls in love with you, then maybe he will deal with the fact that you don't want to have sex until you get married. So we start doing all these things.
What is sex adjacent? What do you mean by
you know, the heavy petting, the making out, the putting stuff everywhere except for actually having sex, you know, oral, all these things that we do that's sex adjacent, right? That get ourselves semi-satisfied in our flesh without saying we had sex, when in actuality, if you're going to do all of that, you might as well just have sex. But instead of just saying, oh, okay, I get it, that's not for you. Because guess what? There are guys and girls out there who will wait.
That's good.
It may be hard. We have them in our church who just decided we're going to wait. And it was hard. It wasn't easy, but they waited.
Yeah.
And so I just say, I wouldn't necessarily cancel a person, especially if I haven't already expressed that. Even if I express it and they said, okay, I'm cool with it, and a few months down the line, they get worked up and they try, I don't even know if I'd still cancel them then. But when a person is putting undue pressure on you, continuing to try to put you in scenarios to make you compromise,
dishonor God. Yeah.
Then I think I'd be like, hey, we're obviously on two different pages. This is probably not going to work for us.
I think, man, this has been really good. I want, I guess, give this thought that if something feels off now, it's going to be worse later. I think sometimes we get married or get serious with people knowing that something is just not clicking.
And here's the thing, sex is not the only red flag.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Temper, rage, a lack of integrity, lack of honesty, lack of financial integrity, inability to commit, inability to keep a job, just lack of overall hygiene and keeping a home. All these things are like issues that if you think they're going to get better later, they're not.
Yeah. This has been really a good conversation. I think the point that we want to help really communicate in this episode is we want you to understand that every marriage starts at the dating stage. And I believe we can really, really correct the future dysfunction of marriage if we just learn how to date right. The point is not to find the perfect mate. The point is to find the one who has a dream and a promise from God. I think if you can identify that person in your life, I really think you can build a solid future with them. As Dana and I have communicated, we have seen many people date and date wrong. So hopefully what we've shared today has provided some insight for you to go back and reassess, evaluate, and do the necessary so you can get right back on track. So what we want to do, if you got any value from any of the information shared today, please let us know in the comments. Let us know some of your greatest takeaways as we shared earlier in the episode. We're doing everything that we can to serve this community and give you guys intel that really speaks to some of your current needs. So as we do with every episode, we want to pray for you. I'm going to ask Dana, do you mind?
Sure.
Let's lead the people out in prayer, and we get a chance to check out your comments. We will respond as best as we can, but thank you all so much for your support. And BennettLife TV has really, really taken off, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Lord, we thank you for yet another opportunity to share with your people. We pray that something was said through us that touches the hearts of those that are listening. Lord, we know that there's no accidents or coincidences, so we thank you for guiding those who needed to hear this message to this channel. My prayer is that you would give those that are dating wisdom, that you would guide the right people into their path, that they would find joy during this season in their life, and that past issues, loneliness, or anything that would be meant to be a distraction would not influence their decisions in dating. But I thank you that you would give them wisdom and clarity on who is for their life. I pray now that you even remove people out of their lives that may be parasitic or toxic, that would try to drag them down or put them into a place where they are experiencing yet another trauma. But I thank you, Lord, that you are sending people who will love them, affirm them, and uplift them in their season. We thank you that you do all things well, including ordering our steps. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Awesome.